Hi, my name's Diane. You're currently watching the Just Kidding Around show. Thank you so much for joining us. Each week, we introduce our home viewers to different crafts and hobbies that can be enjoyed by the entire family. This week, we have a very special guest on, a very active member in the community. And would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Chris Linke. I'm the founder and team captain for Riptide Men's Volleyball Club.
Oh, good. And would you like to give a shout out to somebody in our community?
My wife Taylor, my boys, Jackson and Colby, my whole team, both teams, Riptide Gold, Riptide Black, pretty much everybody in the VLA community.
Oh, great. And I'll give a shout out to all the students at South Bay Elementary. Hi. So, welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. It's the first time I've done a show in a while.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because COVID kind of shifted things around, but I'm thrilled to have you here.
Yeah, we
and
did the same thing for volleyball.
Yeah, oh, really?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
We had tournaments canceled. We had trips that we weren't able to go to. Everybody was really anxious to get back into playing. And then when it was all over, we just started booming. So
Great.
Boys and men's volleyball is huge right now.
Oh, wonderful. Do you want to tell us a little something about that?
So I can probably just start with myself. I've been playing AA and professional men's volleyball for 20 years now.
Wow.
We started Riptide Men's Volleyball Club back in 2016. The original intent was just to have a really good team playing solid A, solid AA volleyball, go do some adult nationals trips, and then we finally got an invite to the VLA. And we were super excited to do that, and this will be our third participating season as a member of the Volleyball League of America.
Okay, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
I want to know if this is a nonprofit thing, or is this something you're paid to do? Tell me about that.
So right now, the Volleyball League of America, it's very grassroots. It's very in the beginning processes. The goal eventually one day is for it to be a profit league for players, coaches, staff, anybody who's affiliated with the league. Some teams in certain tiers, which I can talk about, there's two different tiers of the league, and we can talk about that, a lot of the sponsors that we have or the fundraising that we do pays for much of our travel and our entry fees and stuff like that. Many Tier 2 teams, players, still actually will fund a lot of the things that they need in order to be able to participate successfully.
Okay, so it's really grassroots. And is it in different states, or is it just in this state?
Literally all over the country. We got teams,
all 50 states?
Our team in Seattle. There's a team all the way down in Atlanta, Georgia, and as far as Florida, Washington, D.C. has a new team. The Tier 1 teams include California teams, Arizona, New York, Chicago area. It's literally all over the country.
And did this happen simultaneously, sort of, all these clubs opening?
The league started out with what would be like, we call them kind of like the core initial league teams. They actually formed away from another league and then formed into their own VLA league. And from there, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they wanted to have team representatives from basically every corner of the country. And there's well over 20 Tier 2 teams now, and I believe there's 12 Tier 1 teams.
So how are people hearing about this to join?
If you're in the volleyball community, the majority of, I guess you could go by ear the most. You find and track teams from the volleyball community. There's teams, we have fans in Seattle that we didn't even know about.
Oh, really?
Until we had some practices alongside an open gym, and the guys that were showing up to the open gym were just watching our Riptide practices, and they're asking, "Are you guys Seattle Riptide? Are you guys?" And we're like, "Yeah, we are." And we're like, "We follow you guys on Instagram. You guys are awesome." And so we actually have fans in our area that we knew we had a lot of family members obviously follow us. But hearing about more and more, and this is level of players from beginners to novice to advanced players that all follow our club now.
Wow, so wait, you just said Seattle, but we're taping this in Olympia, so you're not an Olympia team, you're a Seattle team?
It is a Seattle-based team.
So you have to drive to Seattle?
We go up to Seattle. A lot of our practices are actually in Auburn. One of our sponsors is the Performance Zone Sports Facility at the Field House, which is at the old, well, I guess it still probably is the old Super Mall. They one of the big clothing department stores went away, and they put a huge sports facility in there with.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm sorry to interrupt. You're not talking about that mall that used to be right off of Highway 218 or whatever it is, Highway 18?
Off 512.
Oh my gosh.
Or is it north of that? It is north of that. Yeah, it's the Auburn Super
I didn't
Mall.
know that.
And they had a clothing store was there, a big one,
yeah.
and it went out of business. And this sports facility took over that, and they have.
Smart thing to do with these empty
Absolutely right.
stores
There's
in malls.
there's weightlifting in it. There's
wow.
rock climbing and ninja courses.
Okay.
Basketball courts, volleyball courts, apparel section.
And that's
everything.
where you guys practice.
We
then.
practice there almost exclusively.
Oh, so it's sort of, if you're in Olympia or Tacoma, it's not, you don't have to drive way up to Seattle.
No, matter of fact, there are actually members on our team that live out in Portland. And so they will also travel up, and come up to Auburn for our practices and for our tournaments. All of the local tournaments that we play are between Seattle and Portland. We were down in Portland last month. We have a tournament in Centralia coming up.
So I can guarantee you there is a home viewer watching this now.
I hope so.
He might be a couch potato.
Okay.
Might be a former athlete.
Okay.
And might start thinking, hey, I want to be athletic again or join.
Okay.
Is there hope for that person?
So yes, there is, absolutely. There is almost, I don't even want to call it like this secret knowing, because if you're in the volleyball community, then you do know about it. There are many Facebook groups that are specifically for volleyball players of every level. And if you still struggle finding some place to play and you want to play, you can go on our Instagram page and find Riptide Men's Volleyball Club, and you could message me directly, and I will put you in contact with who you need to talk to about getting into an open gym, a tournament with a team, whatever you need. I'm more than willing to help anybody.
And there's an address somewhere?
I think he already showed
one
this
of those,
right here.
Did he show that address?
It's Riptide Men's Volleyball Club. It's on Instagram. It's a sports-specific Instagram page. So there you'll see all of our videos, our team clips, any upcoming news, our tryouts, which we have coming up soon, our very first ever club tryout.
So how do we recognize you? What position are you playing?
Okay, that's a very good question. I wasn't sure if you were going to even ask me that. So I play middle. Middle is, if you're in the front row, you're right in the middle. We run a lot of fast offense through the middle. I almost always wear number 9. If I'm not on the court, there could be another player wearing number 9, but usually I'm wearing number 9 in the middle. And one thing that's interesting in volleyball is when we have position-specific players, sometimes they will sub off the court in the back row. So many times the middle will play only the front row, then you won't hardly even see them in the back row except maybe for half a rotation, and then we'll be off catching our breath waiting for our chance to come back in the front row.
Okay, and maybe I shouldn't ask this, but what is your win-loss record?
Ooh, that's a good question. The league that we play in is top tier. It is definitely the strongest league in the country.
Wow.
And we actually finally won our first match in Chicago last season. It was very emotional. It was very exciting. It was a lot of work. We lost a few games before that in 5 sets, very close games. So we were just itching to get our first win. We got it in Chicago, and honestly, just that one win, I think our record is probably 1-7. But in that one win, that just blew up our club and people wanting to play with us and asking for, when can we try out for your team, and we want to play. And so we run 2 teams. We have our first team is Riptide Black, and our second team is Riptide Gold. And so locally, we will play, usually both teams at tournaments will play on either one of those. The Riptide Black team is the VLA team that will travel. We will be in San Diego in January.
Wow.
We'll be back to Chicago probably in May.
San Diego's going to be tough. I shouldn't say that to you.
San Diego's nice.
Ooh.
We were there last year, and we played some really, really good matches. Getting to know players from across the country is probably one thing, and we understand that this league it's so fresh that we're going to be. We're not here to win games all the time. We're here to just explode the league. We're here to participate, and we're excited to just be a part of what the VLA is trying to do with men's professional volleyball in the country.
Okay, so how did you, personally, not the team, but how did you personally first get involved with volleyball? How did that all happen?
We might need a lot more than 28 minutes to talk about that, but it's a family game. My dad played adult club volleyball when I was a kid. My little sister and my little brother both play volleyball along with other sports, and I picked up volleyball from my dad. I started playing late, actually, compared to juniors club volleyball, which I'd love to talk about that also. I started playing probably when I was 16, 17 years old with my dad, some city league stuff.
Did they have high school teams back then?
They did not have high school teams back then.
They do now,
but
though.
They do now. It is just
Yeah.
getting much, it's starting to blow up. Shout out to Absolute Zero Volleyball Club. Their club director, Billy, is doing extremely special things with boys volleyball, and all of that fills into men's college volleyball, high school volleyball, and then eventually professional volleyball where we're playing.
So if people have sons, I know you have two.
I have two.
And they're choosing sports, would you recommend volleyball over football, or should I even say that, or is it the child that kind of makes that?
I think that
the kid themselves.
Yes, I think that you're right. I think that there's such a big difference in football versus volleyball in that kind of a sport.
Yeah.
The physicality is much different, but there are similarities also. Volleyball is a barrier sport, which means that we have one team on one side of a net and one team on the other side of the net, and crossing over that barrier is an illegal attempt in our sport. Where football is not barrier,
that's right.
they
You're
are
always
contact with
moving
each other.
across
So if you are looking to not have your children play in a full contact sport, such as football or other sports similar to that, rugby, other lacrosse, other sports like that, and you're looking for more of a barrier sport, I think volleyball is one of the fastest growing sports in the country. Tennis, pickleball are huge, fast-growing barrier sports.
Okay.
So that's something that parents can think about if they're thinking about what kind of sport would I like my son or daughter to play.
However, what about scholarships and things like that? Are there scholarships out there for kids that play volleyball?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Lots
it's not
and
a
lots of
wasted
scholarships.
investment.
No,
then.
not at all.
Okay.
Club sports and high school sports can get you exposed to college coaches, which can lead to scholarship opportunities in Division III, Division II, Division I, NAIA, college volleyball. We have guys on our team that played NAIA. We had guys on our team that played college club. We have Division III athletes, Division I athletes. So literally our team is it's this mosh pit of players from around the country that honestly graduated college and they moved to Seattle and they wanted to keep playing volleyball.
Yeah.
And so we have guys from, our players are from California, Maryland, Chicago, all over the country. A lot of California guys. We have a Pennsylvania guy that plays with us. We have a guy from Colorado, a couple guys from Hawaii that play with us.
And they were college then?
A lot of them, almost all of them played college volleyball.
Because so many parents kind of encourage kids, I feel personally like, you know, soccer, basketball, and football are kind of the big three because they want their
Very
kids,
popular.
and baseball because they want their kids to get scholarships, you
Indeed.
know. But then a lot of them are starting to worry now about maybe head injuries and concussions.
Yes, concussion protocols now are a big deal, and and honestly, it's a big deal in the professional sports, and it trickles all the way down to kids' junior sports as well. Getting concussions, multiple concussions can have you sitting out part of your season. Now, don't get me wrong, concussions happen in volleyball also.
Oh, they do?
Maybe
Oh,
less
okay.
frequent.
Yeah.
But I've coached players who have gotten hit in the head by a volleyball and got a concussion. Maybe they're more susceptible, but I'm not a medical professional to say. But if you're diving for volleyballs and you hit your head on the ground, there's a chance that happens. There's actually, brings to mind, there's a player in the VLA that actually wears a concussion helmet to help prevent him from getting concussions.
Okay, so there are the preventions that can be made.
Of course.
Okay, so now I want to go back in our conversation. You said soon you will be going to San Diego, right?
San Diego.
So who's paying for you? How do you have to pay for that yourself?
Okay, so in Tier 2 and Tier 1, there are sponsorship opportunities for teams to get sponsorship to help with funding. We are a Tier 2 team that is currently almost exclusively funded by fundraisers. So we run our own local volleyball tournaments, and we invite teams that we know to come and play in our tournaments.
I see.
And then we raise the money that we need to be able to travel, pay for our Airbnb or hotels, pay for the majority of our food, pay for our car rentals, and pay for our entry fees. Entry fees into the tournaments are quite a high. It can be $700-800 just to enter into a tournament. So, however, we are also partially player funded as well. As the founder and team captain, the only thing that I ask my players to pay for is just buy a plane ticket. Buy a plane ticket, get your body there, and then the club through fundraisers will fund the rest of our trip.
Okay, so wait a minute. You just said the only thing you ask your players. Are you saying you're the captain?
I'm the founder and captain of this team.
Okay, I think I heard earlier you say you were a founding member, but you're actually the captain.
I created this team.
Wow.
I created
but
our
it's
logo.
in Seattle, though. How come?
It is.
How
Well,
come they're
so
not coming down here?
well, all of our players live in Seattle. The majority of our players live in Seattle. A few of our players live in Portland. I
Okay.
just happen to be kind of out of the norm because I live in Olympia. But the volleyball community, the large volleyball community,
Lives
is
in
in
Seattle.
Seattle.
Well,
So
did you
I go
used to
up
live in
there.
Seattle?
Nope, I did not. No,
You
but I
just-
travel up there.
Boy, that's pretty awesome. that
Travel
you've
sometimes.
started. Yeah.
We have some of our team captains are amazing. CJ, Ricky, Rob, some of our OG players, like some of the original Riptide guys. If there's a practice that I can't make, I can just send them a message and say, hey, Ricky, can you just run a practice for us today? And he will come into the gym with a ton of college and high level volleyball experience
Yeah.
and be able to run our practices so that they're good practices,
My
even
gosh.
if I can't make it. I'm slowly moving from hardly playing anymore, which is hard for me because I've played so much that now I'm moving into playing less and managing the team more because we have so many guys that are like 23, 24, 25-year-old guys. And, they're the next generation of volleyball player, and they're the next generation that's going to take our club to the next level. With the VLA and the area where our club is doing things in Seattle volleyball that have never been done before. And so we're really, really excited to be able to do that and to be a part of the league that we're in.
You are such a busy person because Chris teaches in the daytime too.
I also do that.
Yeah, he teaches school in North Thurston District. Wow, you are so busy. I didn't
Very
really know
busy.
all that much about you.
Busy keeps us young.
So then, can you tell me why are these behind us? Are they there for the background or?
Yeah, so in the background we have, if you guys can see this is our warm-up that
Okay.
was designed and printed for us by Novus, which is a clothing company that is part of the VLA. And
Okay.
this has the league sponsorship is on here also, the stuff that helps fund the league.
Okay.
And then these are what we wear for warm-ups when we're warming up before tournaments, before games.
Yeah.
All of our team members have a set of these. And then on the left and the right are just a couple of sets of our uniforms that we wear for tournaments. You can see that they're numbered.
So
they
these
have
are
our
your
club
colors,
logo on
then.
them.
Your
Mhm.
colors are like black and blue.
Black and blue
Okay.
are our two primary colors, yes.
Do you have some kind of a, I hate to say animal. I can't think of the word right now. Some kind of a.
It would be our wave. I can't.
wave.
So our
Oh.
wave, if you look right here,
Your logo.
this is our logo. Yeah. So
Oh, I see.
So the Riptide wave is incorporated into the logo, into the D.
Oh, how
And then
pretty.
it says Riptide, and that goes on. I have it on my shirt today
Oh,
also.
I see. That's a wave.
And
yes.
and so you can also see that they incorporated the wave into the back of our warm up here as well.
Okay. So if somebody joins your team, are they expected to be looking for outside sponsors, or they can just play?
No. We have discussions with teammates about how and better ways to find funding and to find sponsorships and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't expect the team players to come up with sponsorship
So
or
that's on
funding
your
opportunities.
shoulders
I manage the team, and
Yeah.
that's one thing that I do. If anybody has any advice to that, matter of fact, if anybody in the whole state or area of volleyball would like to help our team out with any kind of help, they can
Okay.
find me on our Instagram page and
Okay.
any kind of funding help or sponsorship help, whatever kind of help that that they would, if they want to just be a part of the volleyball community, just reach out to me and we can
Okay.
find some way that you can help out if that's what you're interested in.
You don't have cheerleaders, do you?
We don't. If
Oh,
you, I think,
I'm not saying
I
I'm
would
not
honestly,
sure.
I'm not sure if volleyball is I don't know. There might be a team out there that has a cheerleading squad for their volleyball team. Maybe some professional teams overseas, but our fans that sit out in the crowd and watch us play, we'll call those our cheerleaders, of
You know,
course.
okay, so this is kind of off the subject, but I teach at South Bay, and a lot of our students go on to North Thurston, a lot
course.
of them, and a lot of them are athletes. And one time I went to see the girls' volleyball team there, and it was almost all former South Bay students. And I was so proud of the boys. There weren't cheerleaders, but there were guys in the stadium that stood up for the whole game.
So,
and that was, oh God, that was so cool.
Let me touch on that because I think that is one thing that makes volleyball a little bit more special than some sports. When we travel and other women's teams from our area travel to the same things that we're doing, because it's so popular with men and it's so popular with women, that when the men are playing, the women are cheering on the men, and when the women are playing, the men are cheering on the women. And we've had events where we went to Dallas, Texas for an adult nationals one year, and I think Seattle sent like 12 total teams. And we were playing
yeah.
a gold match loser bracket game,
Yeah.
late night, 8 p.m. night, second to last day. Loser leaves the gym and is basically heading home. And we had 5 women's teams from the Seattle area
Oh my
in the
gosh.
stands cheering us on.
Cheering.
It felt like a home match,
Oh,
and it was
makes me wanna
it was
cry.
such a
Yeah.
fun game. We won it in 3. Very close game. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, the team that we beat, we've played multiple times at nationals before, and it was just
That's so
sometimes-
much better than cheerleaders that are.
Sometimes it is.
Just,
Sometimes
you
it is.
know,
Cheerleaders
I mean-
help hype the crowd, but if you have like 5 teams in
yeah,
the stands that
but
are
they're
cheering for
paid
your team,
too, aren't they?
well, some are volunteer.
Yeah, I'd rather have a real fan than
Of course.
a paid one. Anyway, so, gosh, it was so nice of you to come on. Is there anything else that you would like to touch on that maybe?
Yeah, just a quick reminder again that we're fundraised. We're just almost a completely fundraised club. A lot of our sponsorships just kind of help us with practice facility, help us with apparel, help us with things. We don't even get the players don't get paid. Currently, I would have to say it's a nonprofit. Nobody makes money off of doing this.
Yeah.
We just do it because we love volleyball. But in that sense, Absolute Zero Volleyball Club is one of our sponsors. 512 Apparel,
Yeah.
All Pro Apparel, which is actually a local apparel company that's right over here in Lacey.
Okay.
Performance Zone Sports Facility. And if anybody wants to reach out to me and help out further with our club, again, find us on Instagram.
Okay, and then also, what about tryouts? What if people are watching the
So,
show and they want to try out?
This is one of our most exciting things happening this year. Our club has been exclusively an invite-only club where we see the players, or if
Oh.
somebody wants to play with us, they reach out.
Oh.
Usually we'll give them a go on the gold team, and if they're the player that we're looking for to play on our travel team, then we'll move them up to black. But this year we have had so many people reach out to us wanting to play with our teams that we had to have a tryout. So we will be hosting our first ever club tryout on October 18th. Many of you will see this after that happens, but we have, I would say, 20 to 30 men's volleyball players who will probably be at the tryout. It will be take down information from players. It'll be a full tryout, lots of action and stuff like that. And we'll even have some of our black players will be there to help manage our tryout.
Okay.
And then all of that just segues into our October 21st Riptide hosted tournament, which happens to also be a West Cup qualifier. The top 2 teams in the tournament on the 21st will qualify for the VLA tournament in San Diego and the West Cup. So this is the first ever time that our club has hosted a tournament like that. And we had to go through a lot of hoops to be able to let the VLA to allow us to be able to host that here in the Seattle area.
Okay, I have 2 questions about that. First of all, say somebody does try out and they're better than somebody on your team right now.
Of course.
Do you bump people, or how does that work?
Well, again, that's why we have two teams. That helps us
Okay.
shuffle players
that's
around.
how you manage
yes.
it.
So we
Okay.
can shuffle players around between the two teams. If somebody comes to tryouts and they're head over heels better than one of our first team players, then potentially yes, that could bump a first team player down to a goal team. Nobody is guaranteed a spot. We're a very competitive club, and everybody in the club wants to remain competitive.
Sure.
So I think that we have a high percentage of the most competitive players in the area already.
Okay. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but we don't have very much time, and
Of
I want to
course.
ask this. How do you decide, maybe our viewers are going to think this is a dumb question, but how do you decide if a player is better than another player?
It's all it's a rating system. When I coached girls club volleyball for 16 years, I
Local?
coached. Yes, I coached.
so a
I
lot of
coached
people are gonna
collegiate.
recognize you.
Of course, a lot of
Yeah.
people would recognize me. I coached collegiate volleyball at Evergreen State for a couple of years. I coached at
Oh.
South Puget Sound Community College for a couple of
Oh.
years. I know the majority of high school coaches in the area and college
Okay.
coaches in the area.
Okay.
So I have personally run at least 15, 16 seasons of tryouts for women's volleyball.
Okay.
And a lot of that transfers over to the men's thing. It's just it's a rating system. How well did you do on serving? How well did you do on
Okay.
receiving? How well of a hitter are
hopefully
you?
you have a
How
good
well
day when you
yeah.
try out.
But you're trying out. These guys are trying out for a pro team also. So
Okay.
the level of volleyball that's going to be in the gym is going to be obvious, and it's going to be a very well organized team or organized tryout, and maybe we get a handful, 4 or 5 guys that are right there where we need them to be able to
Okay.
play with us.
Okay. So, and I'm assuming tier 1 is the top,
Of course.
and then tier 2 or.
Yes. So tier 1 is many of the tier 1 teams are the founding teams of the league. They have a different set of requirements. They're not required to have any kind of funding or sponsorship different than the tier 2 team. They have a different requirement of participating in the league. They're required to do certain tournaments every year. They're required to travel to certain things every year. They have to have a certain amount of points that they accrue every
so
year.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but okay, so if they're required to do all these things and you have sponsors, and that's all good, but what if there isn't quite enough money? So you're saying that it's possible
The tier 1 teams definitely have much more sponsorship than the tier 2 teams.
tier 2 might be paying their own way.
Yes,
by
there's
now.
probably
And
at least a handful of teams in tier 2 that is probably almost all player funded.
Okay, and do you pay for the families to travel around with them?
No,
or?
no, of course
No.
not. It's the league is, again, it's a very new league. It's very new. It's very young. The funding isn't there for
Okay.
player families.
Okay.
Maybe 10, 15 years down the road, that's a
I
situation
just
like that
wanted
happens.
our viewers to know that in case somebody's sitting at home
Yeah.
wondering
Yeah, I don't mean
and wanting to be a part, you know.
Yes. We do a really good job of fundraising for our club. We took 12 guys to Chicago last year, and the
Okay.
only thing that they had to pay for was a plane ticket to get there.
Okay.
Fundraising covered our hotel, our Airbnb in Chicago, all 3 of our rental cars, all of our food while we were there, and our entry fee while we were there. Plus, we had new jerseys that we had covered for us also. So, our club is successful enough that I require very little from the
Okay.
player base.
Yeah.
I try to require as little as possible.
Okay.
But when you start looking at airplane tickets for 12 players, then
Yeah,
that's a
right,
real
right,
big
right.
bulk of cost.
But you
yeah.
actually started this area.
2016,
Wow.
there was another men's team that I was a part of, and we kind of retired that team.
Wow.
And we went to the next level. We wanted to play AA volleyball. Then the VLA invited us, and I formed Riptide. I asked some friends that I knew that if they
Yeah.
were interested. We put a team together. Very successful our first season. But yep. This is all me. I do a lot of work on it,
You are
and it's a lot of work.
Guy, and thank you so much for joining us on
know,
Just Kidding Around today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. This was a blast to be able
Yeah.
to be a part of this, and I'm looking forward to our fan base and our players and families to be able
Great.
to see this.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you to our home viewers for tuning in. We are on every Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday. And thanks for your support of Thurston Community Media also. Bye.
Thank you. Okay.